end of the presentation, when we open it up to questions and answers and that, then you can unmute and show your video if you want to do it at that point. And so if you could hold your questions till the end, if you do have questions, we'll get to them at the end, or you can use the chat and we'll get to the chat stuff at the end also. But I think for time considerations, we'll not be taking questions during the presentation there. So I hope that's okay. If anyone, I do have a handout. You can get the handout out at the PC Club website and the past meetings page. And both the slides and the handouts are currently out there. And after this meeting, I'll upload the video, what you're going to be seeing now, so you can have access to that. Okay, our main topic today is going to be security and passwords by myself, Tom Kreuzer. And hopefully everybody's seeing the screen change there. The agenda, we'll cover some club items, and then we'll get to our main topic. Future meetings. Next general meeting is Wednesday, August 19th, and that'll be web only. And the main topic will be Best Interesting Phone and Tablet Software by Tom Kreuzer. We've done this in the past, listing a bunch of the apps, apps that members use and that have been rated highly. So we'll cover the new and popular apps. And if you do have any suggestions of things that you found very helpful, you can send them to myself, and I'll include them in that presentation. We also have a Mac special interest group that meets every month. Their next meeting is Friday, July 24th, and they also are a web meeting. So if you're interested in that, contact any of the board members, and we'll funnel you towards Mike Griffin. He sends out emails and the agenda on that. Last month we had mentioned that we might have a virtual picnic, but the more the board talked about it and got some feedback from people, we couldn't come up with a really good way of doing it or providing benefits to the members. So we decided that maybe the best thing that we can do is wait till we can get together, whether that's in 2021 or the end of the year, or whenever things are better there, and maybe have a celebration there, lunch and dinner. So we'll figure that out in the future. But the virtual picnic is a no-go at this point. Officers, Jim Holman is our president, Linda Brown is our vice president, Paul Ebert is our membership secretary, Mike Griffin is our treasurer and MaxSig, Chuck Scott is our secretary, Andrew Petrucci is our communication coordinator, and my name is Tom Kreuzer. I'm a director at large. Members old and new, you can pay your dues to Paul, and because we aren't meeting in person, the best way or one of the ways is either by the old mail system where you can mail it to him. Otherwise, when your membership does expire or is about to expire, Paul sends out a notice, and you can pay electronically if you use systems like Venmo and PayPal. And also a reminder, if you are currently using your 3M email for the PC Club, you might consider changing it to your home email, because I know some people that have been furloughed or working from home or that, you're not supposed to check your work email. And so if you do want to keep up to date with notices of meetings and e-bites and different deals like that, you may want to consider changing your email to use your home email. If you do have suggestions for topics, you can email or talk to any of the board members. If you would like to volunteer to present on hardware or software you're using, could be something at home or at work. Or if you don't want to present, we're always looking for either a short, meaning a sentence or two, or multiple pages, and we can include it in our e-bites newsletter. Out on our website, we do have our past meetings and slides. So if you do miss one or do want to revisit one later, you can check out there. Most of the meetings we do record, and it's the screens and the PowerPoint and the audio. So you can take a look at those. We have a deals section. We have our monthly newsletter, and there's the link. And the link is also in the emails that we send out to the members. Club questions, I'm going to skip right by that. If you do have any club questions, we can address those at the end. Okay, our main topic today is security and passwords by myself, Tom Kreuzer. Security is a combination of safe computing practices and security products. What that means is there's no product that ever will or completely provide you security. It has to be that combination of you and your behaviors and what you're doing, along with the proper security products. You also need to be careful and aware of what you're clicking on, what you're using for passwords, things like that. And we'll talk obviously a lot more about that. But if you're not part of the solution, working together with the security products and that, you're the problem, and unfortunately you're an easy target for hackers who will acquire your email and passwords and then start owning your account. Over the years, there's been many attempts at replacing accounts and passwords with whether they're dongles or keys that you plug in or facial recognition or things like that. But unfortunately, we all still need to manage our accounts and passwords. Things will get better down the road, but who knows? That may take some time to create some of these solutions there. Okay, this is an interesting graphic that I found in looking at this problem here. We all know better. We just do not do things to protect ourselves. And what this is kind of showing here is you understand what good password behavior should look like. So 59% of us know a secure password is important. 91% of us understand the risks of reusing passwords. Two out of 3 of us are fearful of password hacking. 75% consider themselves informed on password best practices. So, making strong passwords and things like that. 72% consider their passwords sufficient protection for their online information. Unfortunately, even though most of us know a lot of these things, 41% choose a password that is easy to remember. That just means it's going to be easy to hack then for somebody else. 61% use the same or similar passwords on multiple sites. And that's a problem. And here they broke it out by the generation gap. Millennials tend to use them more than baby boomers, 65% to 45%, and Gen X, 52%. 55% of us do it even though they understand the risk. We're just kind of lazy and not going through the effort to really secure our passwords and things like that. The number one reason people end up changing passwords is because they forgot it. It's not like they're changing them on a regular basis or have a habit of once a year changing your password. No, it's because they go out to a website and they forgot it and they click on the link, forgot password, and so they end up changing it. The strongest passwords that we create, we are a little more careful with our financial sites. So 69% of us use strong passwords there. Shopping sites, 43%, 31% for social media, and generally 20%. So again, we're all guilty of being at risk with this stuff. You rely on personal information to create and remember your passwords. So 47% of us are afraid of forgetting passwords. And if we look at it by gender, women are 55% afraid of losing it, and men are a little less afraid of losing it. It doesn't mean that we don't lose it the same. It's just that women are more afraid of losing it than men. Easy to crack info used, and we're all guilty of this. When you're creating your own passwords, 47% of us use our family names and initials. 42% use significant dates and numbers. Examples there: birth dates, anniversaries, telephone numbers, work phone numbers, old addresses that you lived at. The list is fairly short for what we end up using. Pet names, birthdays, hometown, school name or mascot. So these are just some general things of what we do when we assign a password there. Okay, we'll jump in here. Today we need to be protected from who is it that's trying to get our passwords, and what are they doing? Well, there's the biggest number out there is cyber criminals who target large numbers of people in hope of stealing information from a small percentage, who are easily tricked or have not adequately protected their PC. And that's where you may get links or phishing, or well, we talked about some of those in the past. But it's a huge multi-billion-dollar business, and that's why they do it. There's so much money in it. Another way that our accounts and passwords get stolen or that is data breaches. You can do the best job in the world protecting your accounts and changing your passwords and using password managers, and the company that is storing your information ends up with a data breach, and suddenly your accounts and passwords are exposed to hackers there. So even if you do 100% everything right, you're still exposed. And as an example, I think the last time I checked my Gmail, it was involved in 13 different data breaches over the years. So almost nobody is immune from data breaches, whether they're a small company or a large company like Equifax, when they had probably 2/3 of the people in the United States were affected by the Equifax breach exposing there. Okay, the other way that information about us, companies are constantly capturing information about us, and some of it they use to sell or to target ads towards us, but that information can be also used against us. And then the fourth category here is there are a large number of hackers there where it's just a game. Hackers want to create a problem or just for the fun of it. That's why they steal accounts and passwords. Okay, what are some of the reasons that you need a password manager? Well, passwords are terrible, like I mentioned earlier, but we don't have a better solution, so we have to make the best of it with how we protect our passwords. For security, you must use a different, non-guessable, strong password for every site that we use. So if there's a data breach, I shouldn't even say if there's a data breach. When there are data breaches, the one site does not expose dozens of our other accounts to these other sites. So having multiple account names or multiple passwords, you must have that to protect yourself. The only way to accomplish this feat is by relying on a password manager. Even though I like 3M and I like the Post-it notes, and writing your passwords and accounts on Post-it notes or in a book or in a spreadsheet or all these different ways isn't a good way to protect yourself or to remember your passwords. The one thing that I've heard from people, and you will see mentioned in some of the articles, is people go, but if I'm putting all my passwords and account in one place, isn't that vulnerable there? Am I not vulnerable to somebody getting access to that and then having access to all my accounts? And again, this is a perceived vulnerability. It's not reality. even though you have your accounts and passwords in one place or basket, the mechanism to protect you is so much greater in these password managers than it is in any of these other accounts. So if you're fearful that's going to happen, that should not be your fear there. And like I say here, it's false. Your data is encrypted with the unlock key only on your device, usually the devices locally. So what that means is because the data is encrypted and passed and that to your other devices, if a hacker got access to, let's say I use LastPass as my password manager, if somebody within the LastPass company or a hacker got access to my account on LastPass, they would not be able to unencrypt or see any of my accounts or passwords. And which is unlike an Equifax or these other places. If somebody breaks into their servers, the encryption key that they use is either stored up at Equifax. It's not individual to each account. So being individual to each account, somebody would have to hack into LastPass, and then somebody would have to hack into my phone. And that's very, very unlikely to happen unless I give somebody my account and password. This also means that an employee of the company could, of let's say LastPass, could not look up my accounts and passwords. They have no way of decrypting the data, so the data that LastPass has is of no value to them because they can't unencrypt it. Now, this doesn't mean that you can be lax with LastPass or whatever password manager you're using. You have to use a unique, long, strong, or you should be using a unique, long, strong password as your master password. Plus, you should be setting up recovery phone and email for if you forget your master password. And a little story there, I had a friend of mine a little over a month ago. He called me and he had forgotten his LastPass password, and he was mad at the company LastPass because he had contacted them and wanted them to reset his password. And rightfully so, they said that we cannot reset your password. We have nobody at the company has control of your account. And he failed to set up a recovery phone or recovery email to gain access to his account. So in a sense, his account is lost forever. He couldn't remember the password. LastPass can do nothing to reset his account or do anything. All he can do is start over, create a new account, and start putting the stuff back in. And I was actually glad to hear that, because if LastPass had done anything, that would mean that somebody over in China could have contacted LastPass and said, I'm John Smith, and I live in this city, and I need this reset. Well, they won't do it. They can't do it. So your accounts and passwords are very, very, very secure. Okay, what are some of the advantages of a password manager? Well, you don't have to remember each password. So they can be unique, long, and strong. So they're not your pet names, they're not your birthday, they're not your phone numbers, things like that. Strong passwords can be generated for you. So regardless of if the site wants 8 digits or 8 characters or 20 characters, it can generate this and keep it all straight there. Also, there's usually mechanisms to change passwords on these various sites. So you have an easy mechanism to update them and not just keep them the same password year to year to year. Using multiple devices, you have access to it. So if you have a smartphone, a tablet, a laptop, or desktop, you can have availability of your accounts and passwords from anywhere at any time. You don't have to carry a magic book or post-it notes or, gee, it's in a 3-ring binder on my desk. You have it available with you. Plus, it's backed up. And it's safer than storing in the browser. A lot of the browsers now, Chrome and Microsoft and Firefox, have built-in password storing and that, but their mechanisms, some of them don't use encryption, some of them, it's just not as secure as a true password manager. So you do want to use a password manager and not the capability of the browser. Okay, now we'll cover some of the features that you can look for in a password manager. And again, this varies from password manager to password manager. One of the things is the cost. There's free ones out there, and then there's also a bunch of them that either you can buy a premium version or that cost. And some of the free ones have limited in features and functions, or there may be ads in there. Also, it depends on what devices or browsers does it support. So not all password managers work with all the different platforms and all the different devices that you might have. Another feature, if it's important to you, is importing passwords. And this allows you to import your stored passwords in your browser or competitive software. So to start out, okay. So when you're starting out and you want to populate it, if you had put some of your accounts and passwords into a browser, you could easily upload those. Or if you were using a competitor software, you might easily be able to upload those into this new package that you're using. Another feature to look for, if it's important again, is two-factor authentication. This can be biometric, meaning using your face or your finger or stuff like that, or SMS, meaning a text message. Is there any automation in that two-factor authentication? Some of the others you may have heard of is like Google Authenticator, which is an app that allows you to do some additional two-factor authentication. Or there's all kinds of other new things, like I said, coming out. And some of the password managers support this and some of them don't. Another feature that can be important is exporting the data. So once you've loaded all this data into your password manager, you may want to have your own copy. And I'd actually recommend that you have a copy there. Don't have to take a copy every day, but occasionally taking a copy and maybe keeping it on a flash drive or something like that. Can you export the data into something like a CVS file? Okay, the basic functions that most of them will do is automatic capture, and I'll show that in the demo where as I go into a site and put in an account and password, it'll capture that account and username and ask me if I want to set that up in the password manager. And then when I go back into the site, then you want the capability of auto replay, entering that information back in when next time you go to that site. And so almost all the sites do that, so you don't have to be manually copying and pasting or looking something up. Most of them will do that. Now, some of them will do that, will work better with other apps and other applications, and some of them don't work with certain apps. So if you were using, let's say, a package like Quicken, does it integrate with Quicken or doesn't it integrate with Quicken? Will you have to do that kind of manually, copying and pasting passwords to get in? That's what this is talking about. Another feature to look for is what's called filling web forms, and this is where the website you're going out to is looking for information. It could be shipping information or phone numbers or things like that. If you enter this into the password manager, it can automatically fill out some of that stuff for you and save you the hassle there. This is a very nice feature, is retaining history of passwords. The people that have it on Post-it notes or stuff like that, you're usually not maintaining the history of your password, meaning the last time you changed it, what it was, and stuff like that. These packages can tell you the history there and show you. So if there was a case that somehow you had to know the old password, you might be able to go back, but it also lets you know that, gee, I haven't changed this in a year, and you can do a history scan and it'll tell you if these are old, change these. Another feature is supporting multiple identities. That can be for multiple profiles or accounts, and then you select which one to use. Myself, I have multiple Gmail accounts, and I also have access to my parents' Gmail accounts. So I've got like 5 or 6 Gmail accounts that I use that I'm going into and out of. And Password Manager can make it easy to switch between those and pick which account to use. I mentioned the reporting capability. Some of them will analyze the strength of your passwords. It'll also tell you if you're reusing passwords or accounts between different packages and that. And also if they're getting old, you haven't updated them and things like that. So, and also now they're starting to tie in with data breaches. So they're mentioning, oh, this account was breached in this data breach in this year, and so it'll give you information like that, which is really good. Application passwords, and this is where I was talking about, all of them will kind of work with websites. Some of the more sophisticated ones will also work with some of the applications to pass your account and password into the application, so you don't have to copy and paste or do stuff. Secure sharing. This is sharing of passwords, messages, and documents with others. So they make it easy to share documents and that you want to protect, or if you want to send somebody, it makes it, and they have the same account, you can share it so that when it gets updated, it's updated in both places, or multiple members of the family are using the same account to order, let's say, pizza from Devani's or that. Okay, you could be sharing that amongst multiple people there. Digital legacy. So in addition to passwords in that, most of the packages will also let you put documents out there. So you could put power of attorney, wills, past tax statements, things like that. You could put documents like that out there, and you could grant access to an inheritor or your executor or whoever there. So they have mechanisms in there for doing that. And along with that, it's part of the secure online file storage where you can save and share files, will, passports, whatever documents that you'd put in a safe kind of a thing. This is the same concept. Okay, what do I use? I've been using the free version of LastPass for almost 10 years now on all my devices. So I have laptops, desktops, I have an Android phone, I have an iPad. So you can, these different packages like I mentioned, most of them are supported on multiple devices. Make sure it's supported on the devices and the browsers that you use. LastPass continues to be rated high in all reviews, so it's usually #1 or #2 or at worst #3 in some of the reviews. I haven't needed to change over the years, but certainly if there is something better, I'd do that. many of the other free password managers do require you to pay for support if you want to use it on multiple devices, the syncing of the passwords and stuff like that, or to get some of the features. So far, I've been very happy with the free version of LastPass and all of the features that are in there. They do have a premium version, but all the features that I need, I've been able to use within the free version. As I mentioned here, LastPass does have a free version with features to share data with family and friends, multi-factors using YubiKey, and 1 GB of encrypted storage, and some other features there. But like I say, I've been very happy with the free version. And if you haven't tried it, certainly start out with the free version. And if there's features or functions that you want or need, then you can look at upgrading to the premium version. LastPass itself installs as an extension for your Chrome or Edge or any of the browsers there. So it's not a separate software that you run on the PC. On phones and tablets, whether they're Android or iOS, there is an app, a LastPass app that you install and then configure. Okay, we'll go in and do a demo of LastPass. Or before the demo here, I'll just talk. Within LastPass, I'll show you how to log on, but these are some of the settings that I recommend that you change if you are going to use LastPass within the browser. And one of them is to log you out when you close the browser, and then also set that it can log you out after so many minutes of inactivity. Because if you don't, I think by default, these are not checked on, which means that once you log into LastPass, you will stay logged into LastPass. So if you close the browser on your laptop or your desktop and then come back a day or a week later, you wouldn't have to enter your LastPass password and you'd be right in. Well, I don't like that. And again, I wouldn't recommend it's staying logged on, because if somebody did get access to your computer, they'd have access to everything there. So I do recommend changing these defaults here. Okay, let's go into LastPass here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up the browser here. And we'll just go to Google here. And this is, I mentioned LastPass gets installed as an extension, and this is what it looks like. It's an icon. In this case, it looks gray or dark with 3 dots. That means I'm not logged in. So to log in, I can just click on it here, and I have it remember my email, and I'm using this. This is a dummy account from the PC Club that I'm using, and don't worry, my accounts and passwords that I show in here are not personally my accounts and passwords. I just set this account up so that I could give a little demo of LastPass. But let me log in here if I can get my password. And if you log in correctly, you'll see now the color up here has changed to red there. And to change those options that I talked about, if I click on here and go to account options, and then I can go to extension preferences, and this is where you can set it so that when I close my browser, it logs me out of LastPass, and for the inactivity, it also sets it. And there's a lot of other options in here that can be set, but we won't go into that at this time. Let me close that. I'll go back here. So for this demo here, what I'll show is how it kind of records the accounts and passwords as you set them up. So for this little demo, I'm going to go out to the Chipotle site. And what I'll do here is I'll attempt to sign in. And I don't have a Chipotle account here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through there, create an account. So I clicked on create an account. Up pops my screen here to create a Chipotle account. One of the things that you may notice here is in some cases there's little icons in that. And some of these icons are icons that are produced by LastPass. So LastPass put an icon here. If I click on it here, we talked about one of the features that's kind of nice is filling in the forms. So this is a form here that has a number of fields. Well, I set up in LastPass just a simple information there, and I can have it fill in the forms here. So you can see just by clicking there, it filled in the forms that it saw. So it put in the it put in my name, my email in here, and it put in birthday. It didn't put in mobile number, even though I've got a mobile number. It must not have matched exactly what it was looking for, but that's not a problem. But in setting up this account, I need a password here. The other thing that the password manager can do for you is, yes, I could go here and I could start typing in a password, and this didn't come from LastPass. This is from Chipotle saying it has to be 8 characters, and you want to use uppercase, lowercase, a number, and a special character. Well, what I can do here is I can click over on this icon here, and I can let LastPass generate me a password. And this is the password that it's going to use for this site, Q#33SUWS. And you can see it automatically filled it in there. You can see also what it did here is it's saying, do you want to add this to LastPass so that next time it'll know my account and password and things like that? And I'm going to say, yeah, let's add it in. Now we'll have it there. But we'll finish creating our account here in Chipotle. Do I want to receive? No, I don't want. Country. So I've got my information. And I'll click on the create an account here. So this is creating, I went to the Chipotle, it created the account, but in the process of creating that account, LastPass was helping me fill in the password. It also created an entry in LastPass. So I now have that. And you can see I'm currently logged in. Let's do this. Well, I have 0 points here. I haven't bought anything. There, let's go back here. Oh, I went back too far. Let's go back to Chipotle. So I'm logged in here. Let me do this. Oh, I wanted to sign out. So now I've signed out of my Chipotle account. Oh, I can click on it, waiting. Now if we look here, so now I'm no longer signed in here to Chipotle, but let's say a week from now I want to go back to Chipotle, and I come into Chipotle here, and I click the sign in, and what I see here is sometimes it'll automatically fill this stuff, and other times you'll see this indicator here, and this indicator is from LastPass, and it's indicating that there are some information that I could use to log in here, and there's one version of that information. So if I click on this, it shows me that, oh, there's the Chipotle. I'm going to have it fill in my account and password. Then I just click sign in, and I'm signed in. So again, I didn't have to, oh, something went wrong. Try it there. Oh, there it logged us in. I don't know why it said something was wrong, but it did log us in there. So the recording, when you're first setting up new accounts, all you have to do is go out to your site, put in your account and password. LastPass will usually capture that information, and then from then on, you can use it to automatically log in. And I'll show you how that works maybe at another site here. This other one, Lunds and Byerly's. Let's go out there. So this is the Lunds and Byerly's site, and it's saying, well, if you want extras, you have to sign in. And I had created a Lunds and Byerly account before, so I'm going to sign in here. And you can see it automatically filled in my information. There's that one and that. And all I have to do is click the sign in, and now I'm signed into the Lunds and Byerly account. So it automatically used what I had stored in LastPass and logged me in there. And the way that we can check that is now what I'll do is I'll click on LastPass, and we see an option in here called Open My Vault. Well, opening the vault is opening the list of accounts that I have set up and all the information. And because this is my demo here, I don't have too much here. I've just got Chipotle in here and Lunds in here. And then I have, for the autofill stuff, I put in some PC information. Well, let's just take a look at what Chipotle did here. So if I click on Edit, let's see what it has. You can see it captured the URL and some information. So and I can change this name to anything that I want. So if I just want it, we can just have it. So I can have anything there. Folder wise, you can organize this. So as you get more and more accounts and passwords, you'll want to organize it, whether these are financial ones, these are dining ones, these are travel ones. You could set it up however you want, kind of like bookmarks or that, putting stuff out there. And then you can see it shows the account that's used there, and this is the password. If I want to see what the password is, it can show me the password there. Also, one of the features, like I was talking about, you can see the password history. So if I had changed this 6 months ago or a year ago, it'd show me the history and it'd show me the value that it was. I can also put notes in here, and notes might be something like challenge questions or things like that that you might want to record. So next time you log into your financial institution and it asks you for what was your favorite high school teacher, you got what your reply was for that question. You could put that stuff in here. It won't automatically fill in anything in the notes here, but you'll be able to pull this up, then go back to the site, put in your favorite teacher, and so you can, instead of having to look up post-it notes or somewhere else where you might have put that information, you can look at this online here. Okay, let's see if there's anything else here. So we can save that. Let's see. So the additional information and Lunds is the same way. The other thing, we're just looking at passwords, the only two passwords that I'm maintaining here are Lunds and Chipotle. The addresses, this is the one that automatically filled in some of my information. And if we take a look there, you can set up the names, birthdays, addresses, and if you get to a form that is looking for this information, it can automatically put that in for you. And you can have multiple of these addresses. So if there were multiple people in your family, or you wanted a home and a work set of information, you could have that. You can set up as many of these different addresses or form fillers that'll be used. The other thing you can put in here is your bank accounts and credit cards, and I don't have any in here, but you can put them in here, and that way when you're checking out or using a website, you can have it use one of those, or if the site doesn't automatically fill it in, you can copy and paste the stuff to there. Okay, let's see here. Let's go back here. Similar to bookmarks, you can create favorites that show up at the top of the list. You have options of, again, if you had 20 or 50 or 100 or 500 accounts and passwords, you want an easy way to find them. And the search allows you to easily find things. You can search, you can change what it's sorted by. You have that categories that you can add them in. So Lunds is in the food category, so you can organize all your accounts there. The other thing I mentioned, one of the features in a password manager is if I have, let's say, my Gmail accounts in here, I can have, since I have multiple Gmail accounts and my parents, I can have all those accounts in here and I can be managing all of them. And then what happens is, let me just show you as an example. I'm going to log out of Lunds here, and if I go into a site where I have multiple things, then it's a case of I'm going to see this number over here. Instead of saying 1, would say, let's say I had 5 counts here. I'd see the number 5. When I clicked on this, I'd see all 5 of them that I could use, and I'd pick the one that I want to use, and I could switch to whichever one I wanted depending on what I wanted to log in. So it makes it very easy to use the multiple accounts there. The other thing, if the site itself isn't automatically filling in stuff, let's go back here. I can open the vault again. I guess I already had the vault open, but if I go to my Chipotle here, one of the things I can do is I just right mouse clicked on it. I can copy the username or copy the password or copy the URL, and it will copy that into the clipboard. And so if there was a site that wasn't automatically filling, or I wanted to use an app, I could copy the password, and then when the screen got to the point of asking for a password, I'd just do a paste and paste that in there. So it makes it easy to do. There's other options in here. You can see stuff for cloning and deleting. The sharing is if I wanted to share this information with some friend or family so that they could use this account also. So it makes it easy to use there. The other thing that can be done through here is this can actually launch the site because it does have the URL that's associated with it. So if I click on Chipotle here, one of the things here is, let's see, where am I here? Why is that not show me copy? Why didn't that? Let's see. Here's the lens. It launches the site and will log me in then, or take me to the login screen where I could log in, and we don't have to go through that again. But so there's different ways of logging in, looking up your accounts, passwords, deleting them if they're old, doing things like that. Let's see, let's go back here. So you do have security. There's this security challenge will scan through your current accounts and tell you if you're using strong enough passwords and if your emails have been involved in breaches and things like that. So there's numerous settings that you have there. And we don't have to go into that. So let me close that. Let's go back here. Okay. So that was LastPass. We'll cover a few other tips here. And one of the tips is install and keep up to date your antivirus. And you can see the April 2019 meeting. We talked about that for more detail. Don't reuse passwords between sites and services. Let the password manager generate a unique one. So you can see when I set that up, I just let it generate because I'm going to be using the automation. Or if I have to look up the password, I can always look up the password and get it. You want to change your passwords often, financial and banks at least once a year. Use two-factor authentication by sending a text code or an app to verify. VPN, if you're using public Wi-Fi, you want to keep yourself secure there. Data breach notifications, you can either sign up for services or even, like I said, LastPass will tell you if some of your accounts have been involved in a data breach. Dark web monitoring and alerts, we talked about that back in August 2019, so you can take a look at that presentation for more detail. There are browser extensions like Password Checkup, and this lists the Chrome link to get that. But again, if you're using LastPass, you really don't need the Password Checkup because it essentially does the same thing. Credit monitoring to alert you of suspicious activity. Back up your PC. Make sure that you got it backed up. So if your machine is ever taken over, you've at least got a backup. You won't have to pay a ransom to get it back. Never download software or files from questionable sites or links. For laptops or smartphones, never download apps from outside the Google Play Store or iTunes. Frequently, some emails may tell you to go to websites or stuff like that to download an app. Don't download. Only trust Google Play and iTunes because they do a scan before they're allowed on there. Be wary of games, peer-to-peer clients, and any download claiming to be a free version of expensive software. So that's just where some of the malware and keyboard loggers are hidden in these applications. Never open unexpected email attachments or links. Phishing, where they get you to enter in Social Security, credit card, and that. Just be careful. There's a ton of new websites created every month trying to fool people. Be suspicious of any email that asks for sensitive information, even if the sender seems to be someone familiar. Call a telephone number if you think it's from a bank or from a business there. Don't use the numbers that may have come in the email. Use it from an old bill or look it up online to make sure that you're getting to the right place. If you use a public PC, log off when you're finished and close your browser completely. Internet of Things devices, this includes things like locks, cameras, Alexa devices, things like that. You want to make sure that you're secure, and there's some information on that at that link. Alter your personal information on Facebook so that it doesn't use your real birthday and other information, because that just makes you an easy target for somebody stealing your identity. Don't like don't like a company on Facebook because you're really giving them permission to all your posts and all your personal information. So limit the things that you do like. Don't just go crazy and like everything there. For wireless security, check the March 2019 PC Club where we talked about home network. And make sure to use spam filtering in your email package, and by default that's usually turned on, but you also want to review the folder, look in the folder, because a small number of valid emails are going to be marked as spam, and frequently people claim or tell their friends or that, gee, I never got that email. Well, it went in your spam folder, and unfortunately, you weren't checking the spam folder. I have a couple of links here to PC Magazine rated the best password managers and then the best free password managers, and then also had a bunch of other extensions if you want better security in your browser. Okay, I went through that quickly, and we'll open it up for questions if people have questions. I'm going to stop presenting at this point, and what I will do is turn on my my video there. So if people have any questions, yes.
Okay. When it comes to LastPass, the question is how can I share passwords? Maybe not currently with someone like a spouse, because if he wants it, he could just ask me. But like in a will or something, or somewhere where there's a will, so that like if you would pass away, that someone could get at, you know, the accounts that maybe you keep up. How can I share that if I'm using LastPass?
LastPass has the one option is called share, and that's for immediately sharing with another family member that, and it sounds like that's a different type of share there. The other that you were talking about is if in the event or when we all die, giving somebody access, they do have an inherent feature. So you set up the emails and telephone numbers, and that person would not get it until you're essentially gone there. That you do need the premium version for that. I mean, you could use that. The other way to do it that I'd maybe recommend over like a LastPass and that would be I forgot when I talked about the website Cake, CAKE. That's for setting up your wills, powers of attorney, storing documents and that out there. And that you can set up executors, and you can set up, you could have exported all your passwords and stored them out there. And then your executor or whoever you designate would then get access to it. Now, if you're not familiar how some of those work, the way that it tells that you're dead is you set up how long you have to go with inactivity. And so if you said 3 months of inactivity signifies that I'm dead, then you'd get an email just before the 3 months that would say, are you still there? and if you said, yes, I'm still here, the person would not get access. But if you didn't reply, then it opens up the account to the people and the accounts that you've designated.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Okay. Other question?
So Bonnie has asked, how do you export the list of passwords? That's in the chat.
Yeah, and I won't bring it up, but if I had the LastPass up there, one of the options in there is just the export. So similar to going to an Excel spreadsheet or anything like that, you click on export, you designate the format. In this case, some of them just let you export it in CVS format, and then it would save it down on the PC. Now, because it's all your passwords in that, that's where I had talked a little bit earlier. You probably want to put it on a flash drive or that, because if somebody got access to that unencrypted, this is a CVS file that just has your accounts and passwords in, you want to be very, very careful with that file. But certainly putting it on a flash drive, putting it in a safe, giving it to somebody else might be something that you would do there. Okay. Any other questions or?
Yeah, I have a question, Tom.
Sure.
I'd seen some discussion various places, this is Chuck, about passwords going away in favor of biometrics. Have you seen some of that discussion, and do you have an opinion about the likelihood of that happening?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously, like I talked about, passwords and accounts aren't perfect. And over the years, they've tried to replace them. On the phones, we see biometrics like the facial recognition and fingerprint and stuff like that. Well, that each of them has its own little flaws or ways to trick it. Unfortunately, they aren't as secure as people would like them to be, and so you have attempts now. If you've heard of things like Google Authenticator, and Google Authenticator is an app that you put on your phone or tablet or that, and instead of getting a text message, the service is able to communicate with your Google Authenticator there to both generate kind of this two-factor authentication and verify that it's you. And that seems to be catching more traction and use within the industry. But again, there's some issues there because the sending of a text message, with a code, that's not perfect because there are ways to hack or view the text message or the numbers that are being sent, let's say, from a bank to your account. So it's better than not having multi-factor authentication, but it's not perfect there.
Thank you.
Tom, is there a way to specify the properties of the password that's generated to give it a minimum length or certain qualities, no special characters, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I went through it quickly in Chipotle there where I had it generate an 8 character. If you click on the down arrow, it will let you specify if so you can limit it to only letters, no special characters, and the length. You can set the exact length of what you want there. So you have complete control in the generating of the passwords and what's used there.
Okay, I thought you had mentioned that was from Chipotle that was popping that information up. So that was from LastPass?
The rule that was just above the enter in the password, that was from Chipotle, saying Chipotle wanted it to be 8 characters and that. But then when I clicked the icon to the right of the password field, then that was a LastPass dialog box, and that dialog box specified the length and the parameters for the generation of the password, and then had a little button that said fill form. And I had already, the last password I had generated was 8 characters and did match Chipotle's, so I just clicked fill form and it filled that into the form.
Okay, I missed that, sorry.
Okay. I see. I guess Jim got that. The CVS is comma separated format, and that's a format that if you use Excel, you can easily bring into Excel or into Google Sheets or into other, even a Microsoft Word would let you import that, and basically it's rows and columns of information because that's what's stored out on LastPass, of which a couple of one column is the account, one column is the password, but you have those notes, you have this URL. So it's all that information that you enter into LastPassword would be in the CVS file there. Any other questions? Oh, I see. How does Tom store or remember his main LastPass? Okay, that's a very good question because that's the one password that you do have to remember because if you forget that, you're not going to be able to get at any of the other passwords. So all the other passwords I don't have to, and I let it automatically generate. The one for the last pass, that's where you've maybe seen some tricks of the trade of create a phrase, replace the letter S with a special character or a number. So you kind of have to use your own creativity to find something that you will remember, or that because certainly you don't want to forget it. Now, if I do forget mine, I've set up the recovery, so I can use my phone and I can use another email to recover. But obviously, if I forget my password and I'm anywhere, I wouldn't be able to get into any of my accounts because I don't have anything else that has a list of my passwords anywhere. Okay. Are there any other questions or?
A comment about the phishing and websites. Recently, with the lock-in stuff, people have been doing more Facebook Lives and things like that. And it seems like people are searching for those notices and putting items in the discussion that look like the link to get to the program. TPT had something, and there were a number of notes in the discussion with links that were not going to bring you to the TPT. They were asking you to register, obviously, and trying to get a credit card out of you, things like that. So even if it looks like it might be from a valid source, you have to make sure you know who's putting the information up on the notice itself.
Good point there. And along those lines too, I might mention one of them that I absolutely hate right now is because we are moving towards the election season. There, you have a number of emails about signing up for absentee voting or registering, and you'll get emails, and a lot of the emails are not taking you to the official state of Minnesota site to register. They take you to their own site and they ask their own set of information. And some of the examples there is they ask you for a telephone number and they ask you for how much you make and some other questions in there, which are not what the state needs. But these other sites are collecting that information, and you are guaranteed, 100% guaranteed, you are going to get inundated with telephone calls asking for donations or that because you've given them all your information there, and they're trying to get some money back from you to donate to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. It's both parties, so I'm not going after one party or another. Both parties do this, and unfortunately, people just see, oh, I saw somebody posted on Facebook this link, and they clicked on it, or I got an email, and oh, I'm going to forward it to my friend because they may not be registered or they should be voting absentee. And you see this fury of people saying, be sure and register or get your absentee ballot right away. Click on this link. And no, go out to the official site. Only put in the information there. And otherwise, you're just handing this other organization your personal information. So that was my rant there, I guess. That's one of them that I'm upset about. But too many people are tricking people into getting information there. Any other questions or comments?
This is Jim. I'm going to drop off. I think the meeting's going to continue on without me, but thank you again, Tom.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Me too. I have to drop back off.
Okay, if anyone does have a question, I'll stay on for a couple of minutes. Otherwise, go ahead and we'll see you next month then.
Sorry I was so late.
Yep. Okay, if anyone does have any other questions, feel free to ask it now. Okay, any questions? Otherwise, I'll hang it up and we'll see you next month then. Okay, I'm gonna hang her up then. Thanks. Bye.